Hey everyone, Tony Winston here with another edition of Fly Me to Your Room, and we're going to take a look at simple open voicings. Now, our ground rules are this. The root of the chord must always be on the bottom. The melody must always be on top. And we must have in every chord the root, the third, and the seventh. And the one exception to that is if the 5 is altered, like it's a B minor 7 flat 5, then we have to include that as well. So with a lot of these chords, we will only have 3 notes because the root, the melody is the 3rd, and then we need to add the 7th somewhere. And I could put it there or there. It's got to be in between those two though. So I'll do it with the left hand. All right, now when we get to D minor, it's the same idea. The root is here, the melody is there, and it's the 3rd, right, of D minor. It's the 3rd, and I need the 7th. So far my left hand has played just the interval of a 7th, because my right hand always seems to be hitting those 3rds. And also for the timing, since the F is before the next measure. It's like on the and of 4, so we can play the chord there too. Right. Okay, and once again we've got, and I could have done it way down here, but the more space you have between your hands, the more empty it sounds. So I'm going to play the G here, the melody is the 3rd again, and there's the 7th. All right, this is getting monotonous because, not really, but I mean, you know, it's easy to do because the melodies always seems to be the 3rd. We've got the bass in there on the root, and we're just adding the 7th. All right, and then maybe we'll play it again for the C 7th, up to F major 7th, same idea. And it doesn't sound bad to leave the flat 5 out, but if you want the full sound of the chord, we have to include that. So why, and here we are again, same idea, root, 7th, and 3rd. So doesn't the 5th make it sound more full? And why can we leave it out of most of these chords? Well, you know, if I release the damper on this and whack an E down here, you hear this note ring. So when you play an E, this note is actually, it's part of the harmonic series. See? If I go like that, that note will ring because it's sympathetic vibrations or whatever. But anyway, you don't need to know all that. I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time anyway. But, and there's nothing wrong with adding the 5. Nothing wrong at all, okay? But in most chords, we don't really need it. Another reason is that if you take like a chord, like say, let's just do C major 7th, all right? And I leave out the 5, you can tell what it is. But suppose I left out the 3rd. I mean, you still think it's a C minor 7th, but I mean a C major 7th. But what if the chord was C minor major 7th, like that? And all I played was this. See, you need the 3rd. The 3rd will identify if it's a major or a minor chord. All right? So let's see, where were we? We're on E 7th. And the 7th will also identify what type of chord it is as well. You know, is it a E dominant 7th or is it an E major 7th? You know, we need the 7th to tell us that. But the 5th doesn't tell us anything because it's in the minor 7th, it's in the dominant 7th, it's in the major 7th. It's always the same, so it doesn't give us much information about the chord. So we can leave it out. Now, the chord says A7, and the melody makes it A7, right? Because this is A minor, and then we have a major 3rd, all right? Now, it's going to get a little tricky here. All right, the melody is the root. I have the 7th. I really need the 3rd here, so I have to add it. All right, and now we have G7 with no melody note. So while I'm holding this, I'm going to play the root, the seventh, and the third. All right? All right? The root, the melody's the fifth, so we need the third and we need the seventh. And then we've got E minor seventh. Also, there's no melody note really because it's being held. It's a tie, but maybe we could get away with just holding all that and coming up like this and then adding this. Because we have to play that A7 on the third beat. Then the melody note. That's really all I need there, right? Root, third, and seventh. I think holding that C in there makes it sound a little bit better. Root, seven, and third, then the melody. And here's the problem child of this song. C, major seventh, with what they call in jazz the avoid note. Like, in C major, you can add this note, or the third, or the fifth, or the sixth. They all sound good, except for this guy. And why? Because you got that going on. So I think the best way to handle it right now, before we get some more sophisticated ways of doing it, is to leave the third out of the chord. All right, so leave that note out. I got the root. I put the fifth in for a little extra stability, and then I've got the major seventh there. And then when I resolve the melody there, I've got a nice C major seventh chord. Now I've got B minor seventh with no real melody notes. I can hold that one. Root, seventh, third. All right, I'll just play through the rest of it using the same technique. I didn't have the third in there, and it sounded kind of unclear, so let me put that third in. Didn't need that note. And here the melody, once again, is going to conflict with the third, so I'll just leave it out. And then I really think the melody goes something like this. That's a reharmonization, and we will cover that in a future episode. That's it for now. I'll see you again soon. Leave me a comment. It always helps the channel if you do that. Just anything you want to say, I appreciate it. I'll read them all, so thanks very much.